Happy Thursday. I hope it's all right. There's a plane going over my apartment just as the stream started, which is a good way to start. How are you all? How are you all this morning? Hi, Matt. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. I'm happy to hear that the plane successfully made it overhead the apartment
and not through. Yeah.
So we're starting off a Thursday.
Exactly. So it's a little, as you, a regular viewer would know, this is a little different configuration than we usually have. George is out of office today, and so we have two wonderful guests. And before Matt makes their introductions, we want to let you know that we're going to be talking about something that's going to, our topic today is something that's going to take place about the next 5 years to the next 25 years. Is that what you said, Mike?
Kind of. I mean, that's conceptually, but it's still, it could be forever. We don't know.
Yeah. So what's, I guess I'm kind of starting off with that because this is a little different than our usual, I would say our streams are usually very grounded in day-to-day threats, or not just threats, but day-to-day work-life things.
Practical application of technology in our lives and small businesses, as well as our personal lives. And today is definitely a little bit different. So
it's a little more.
Let me get the intros going here because we've got two people and I don't want to keep them waiting. They're people that are a part of our industry and work for different companies and folks I consider to be friends. I want to make sure to give them their proper intro. So we're going to start with Mike Powers from Zeta Sky. Zeta Sky is a managed service provider on the West Coast. We're here in New York. They're over in California, handling things on that side. And,
like Tupac and Biggie.
That's it. No, hold on. Let's not get anything going there, man. But, and, Mike's been in doing this kind of work for a long time now. He's got about 2 decades of IT sales and marketing experience. He's the marketing manager I'm going to put an asterisk next to it because there's many other roles that get filled and a lot of other hats that get worn. And like us, he's a lover of technology. I think that the big thing for Mike is that there's always a challenge coming at you when it comes to tech. There's always something to solve, something to learn. And that is, I think, what gets a lot of us hooked into what we do as careers. And it's great to have him here today and first time joining our stream, hopefully not the last time. And if you want to check out Zeta Sky, you could always check out their website at zetasky.com.
It's a great name too.
Yeah. Mr. Ray Orsini is with us today as well. And Ray is the CEO of OIT, a VoIP company located in Florida, company that works with MSPs to provide voice over IP and unified communication services to small businesses across the country, I'm assuming?
Actually across North America right now. Yeah.
So when you say North America, you're talking a little bit of Canada.
A little more than a little bit of Canada.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you spanned across borders. That's good stuff.
Yeah, and then later this year we'll be expanding to EMEA and APAC. So.
Wow.
Man.
Wait, you're in Florida.
Worldwide.
Thank you. Yes, there we go.
Does that mean I got to shave my head now? Is that?
Actually,
no, you just have to wear a hat and tell people you wear it to keep the hair out your eyes. They never ask any questions. So aside from being the owner of a VoIP company, Ray is a former owner of an MSP, and he's also the head of the MSP Media Network, which is, you want to take a minute to just describe what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the idea behind it, I've always been heavy in the MSP communities as far as collaboration, working together. I'm a mod on our MSP and in all the Discords, Slacks, the whole thing. And I've realized over the years, you talk to 50 MSPs and ask them what podcast content they follow, they'll tell you 50 different things. And, they don't even overlap. And there's tons of great content like the stuff you guys put out regularly. And there's a discoverability problem where you can't go to one place and find all your content. Well, I think it's high time that MSPs had that one place, that network they could go to find all the content they want, and not just high tech content, but talking about culture and HR and personnel and even random stuff like we do on the Tech Bar. But it's a media network meant to combine all of the great content from across the spaces in the channel and bring it together. So MSPs have that one channel they turn to, and they get all the content they're looking for.
The sports center of MSPs.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, I think I need a new desk then. If we're Where's Simon? Make it happen.
Don't get the bow and arrow again, please.
Yeah.
So, Megan, you want to jump into a little bit what we're actually talking about today?
Sure. And I touched on it a little bit mysteriously at the top, but now I'll kind of define what we're going to talk about. I'm super excited. I don't know a lot about this topic. We're talking about Q-Day. And Q-Day is a term that experts use to describe when large-scale quantum computers break existing encryption systems. When I read this document, I was like, well, I got to get off the grid if that's going to happen. Now, there's a growing consensus that the threat is real, but no one knows when this day will arrive. So it's a really fun threat where the element of surprise is still there. That's our favorite kind. And today we're going to talk about quantum computing to help make sense of what Q-Day is, and then really get into the topic by talking about the impact it's going to have on all of us, because it will have an impact on all of us. And what's the why of this topic, right? Especially when it comes to what we do as MSPs and MSP adjacent people. Because the encryption that we use to protect sensitive information, we all have that to ensure privacy online and etc. It isn't going to matter when Q-Day arrives. So I feel like I'm kind of reading a pitch for a film right now that the Wachowskis would make.
This is Moonfall,
right?
That's what it is.
Am I going to bend the spoon? I'm like, I have plastic spoons here. I might be able to do it.
You're like bending it, but there's like a flame, right?
Right.
Honestly, if anything, if we could just get like one of those from Ray, kind of like, in a world where encryption no longer means a thing.
No, Ray's got the voice for it. I got here, Ray. I was like, a voice for radio. The man.
A voice and a face for radio.
Exactly.
In a world where, we'll do that as the promo for the next Valiant broadcast.
And but yeah, quantum computing, it's an interesting topic. I think a lot of what we discuss with regards to the topic is still theoretical, because these aren't things that are tangible to the average person right now because of some of the requirements with regards to power and the environment and different materials that are used. And that's what makes it really interesting. I mean, you're going to sit here and talk about what quantum computing is. That just the definition is an hour in its own. So I'm just going to read off what's in Wikipedia, because it's honestly the most straightforward thing, and then we'll dive into it a little bit. But quantum computing is a type of computation that harnesses the collective properties of quantum states such as superposition, interference, and entanglement to perform calculations. What does that mean?
That's simple. What are you talking about?
Yeah, if you can make a grilled cheese sandwich, you can wrap your head around quantum computing. It's no big deal. Not so much. We were talking about this a little bit earlier this morning, and when it comes to traditional computing, the most simple unit of measure is the bit. Bits are either in a 0 or 1 state. They're on or off. It's something that is easy to understand, wrap our heads around, and it's something that even without thinking about it, over the years, we've probably talked about even in our youth. Think about the Nintendo Entertainment System. The bus on that was 8 bits. It was pushing 8 bits of information at a time. Think what Mario looked like in Super Mario Brothers. Then fast forward, 7 years to 1991 or so when the Super Nintendo came out, and that was pushing on a 16-bit bus. So it was pushing data, twice as much data at a time. Think what the game looked like, the ability of the colors, the rendering, everything was just this, for lack of a better term, quantum leap in gameplay and graphics and everything. And that's kind of what's going on here. It's the difference between having a unit of measure that only has 2 states it operates in to one with multiple states. And if that wasn't confusing enough, I'm going to throw up a diagram that's just going to cause you to stop watching today. So you've got your traditional bit on the left-hand side, 0 state.
That's the Death Star, dude. I've seen that before. Star Wars Day was yesterday.
Oh yeah.
There's the
path to the reactor.
To destroy it. Yeah.
There's actually a 2-meter wide point in the qubit that it's just completely vulnerable. You got to watch out. Fighters come by. But just the graphic that is just that we put together to represent a traditional bit versus a qubit literally says all that you need to know. It is just a completely different way of looking at technology and working with the information that we have to build the technology that we use. And I'm going to take this off because it's giving me a headache and I can't think. But at the end of the day, what's important to know is that when you have two states on and off, that's great. You can do a certain amount of things with that. When you have something in a quantum state, you've got on, off, you've got almost like everything in between, I think is a good way of looking at it, where, 0 and 1's binary state, one or the other. This is, 0, 1. And then there's this entire spectrum of states in between that you can work with. And those additional states give you the processing power to do some seriously complex work on a computer. And for now, anything that we would throw at a quantum computer could be handled by traditional computing. And that's because the resources aren't quite available yet. Mike and I were talking a little while ago, and we found that there's actually a quantum computer available for $5,000 that sits on your desktop, but it only has 2 qubits in it, two of these units of computational power. And it's hard to equate that to what we would do with what we would refer to as being, a clock speed or something on a traditional computer. But it just feels like such a letdown. 2 qubits? I want at least like 50, man. If I'm spending $5,000, I need some serious qubit action going on.
But we're going way back in time. I mean, in terms of that, it's like when you bought the Radio Shack computer with 100 meg RAM. I mean,
look, my first real computer I started development on was a Tandy TX1000. I was the overpriced 20 gig, not 20 gig. What was it? 20 meg hard drive card. I mean, it was just.
But like that's the hard part, right? Like, how do we're so used to discussing math, right, in base 10, and we're so used to like discovering, talking about colors. We have our primary colors, and then when we talk about quantum computing, we're saying, okay, there's 3 primary colors. There's actually 455,000. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. You're literally changing language. So, I get it. 16 kilobits or what was it? 16 megs is more than all RAM you'll ever need, or whatever the not Steve Jobs, Bill Gates quote was. Mm-hmm. But like, when you're saying, okay, well, now I know for a fact I don't need a Celeron, I need this amount of qubits. Like, how do you qualify? We don't even know what quantum computing is yet.
Just the fact that you use the term Celeron and the fact that those are just known for overclocking like crazy completely took that into a completely different level that doesn't make sense.
That's exactly why I mentioned it. You hit that turbo button, you're good to go, right? You got at least 16 more megahertz. But that's the point, right?
There's no base. We have no baseline to relate these numbers to, and that's honestly, it feels kind of good to be able to say, I don't understand this. And it's fine because it's something that is not really accessible yet. But getting back on track, because this topic is one to go in different places. Yeah. The whole idea of Q-Day is that we're going to hit a point where quantum computing becomes accessible to people, and that's something that we're looking at happening in the next 5 to 30 years. There's a 25-year window there, and it's just. I'm trying so hard not to read off my notes because they're so incredibly dry. But, when quantum computers become available to the point where they can just be used wherever, they have certain capabilities that completely destroy the concept of traditional encryption. Right. They have the ability to factorize really large prime numbers that are used in computations for encryption like nobody's business. We're talking about stuff that isn't even currently available outside of some of the most powerful supercomputers right now. Right. So we're not talking about your iMac, with the 5K screen. We're talking about like the multi-million-dollar machine that's got its own building that's cooled and, has redundant power. And even those can't really touch that.
It's in the Grand Canyon.
What do you know about the Grand Canyon?
Computer.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to divulge some kind of strange secret there. I mean, I got you talking about this. Drew's giving the magic universal number to everybody. We're just falling apart today. But while there's a growing consensus that this is going to be a problem, no one really knows when it'll arrive. But we do have Shor's algorithm. And without going into too much detail, it's essentially stating that a quantum computer with somewhere around 4,000 qubits will have the power required to be able to break existing encryption systems. And oh, this is such an interesting topic. It's making it hard to like even talk about. Just to kind of give you guys some sort of real idea of the difference in time a computation can take. Bear with me on this. If you had a 2048-bit RSA encryption key and you wanted to crack that with a traditional computer, it's estimated to take 300 trillion years. I mean, that's not even all the time that's technically exists as far as we understand our universe. 300 trillion years. Now, a quantum computer with a little over that 4,000 qubit number, 4,099 stable qubits to be exact, should be able to do the same exact operation in 10 seconds.
I can't.
300 trillion years down to 10 seconds.
Well, and Matt, you had a great analogy for that with a White Castle burger, right?
No, we don't need to bring that up. We're good.
Sorry.
Why is that not surprising? But
you can't wrap your head around it.
I hate to be like the guy yelling at clouds and the old curmudgeon that is very skeptical of everything. But this is the same group of people that at one point said, we'll never need more than 16 megs of memory. IPv4 is enough IP addresses for every device. You know what I mean? And we didn't learn from that. Now we're saying IPv6 will never run out of IP addresses. You know what I mean? We're in the same conversation. We're saying we don't even understand the definition of quantum computing. And yes, there are very many smarter people than us. But how can we possibly say when we can't quantify what it is in relation to, there you go. When we can't say what it is in relation to current systems, how can we say what it will and won't do and when it'll be available? We still don't have flying cars, and I'm a little salty about it. You know what I mean?
Where's my food in pill form? Where are my flying cars? Why isn't my dog being walked outside of my flying apartment?
And my hoverboard. I need my robot Rosie. I need Rosie. I need my hoverboard. There's things we've missed the mark on severely, and I'm not talking about those magnetic tracks. That doesn't count. But so when we say 5 to 35 years for quantum computing, how do we know? You know what I mean? Or what the capabilities are going to be.
Well, I think that those are numbers, the predictive numbers are ones that are related to the resources needed to properly build and allow these machines to function, not so much the computing technology itself. For example, a qubit needs to be kept at a supercooled state, and doing that for any period of time more than a couple of seconds seems to be somewhat impossible at the moment, with the exception of a couple of large-scale production machines, I think over at MIT and Google. So they do have enough information to start making some predictions, but as with all predictions of technology in the future, they're not accurate. I mean, let's be real. There's little accuracy in predicting the future with technology, and that's totally cool. I think that's what makes a lot of it so exciting. As long as we don't have like a Judgment Day, was that the day in Terminator? Where world fences get blown through them with skeletons and stuff. As long as we don't hit that kind of prediction, I'm okay with that.
But just think about this, Matt, everyone. When we get that quantum computer, we will be able to predict the future.
I'm going to be able
Boston Dynamics. We're in agreement. Boston Dynamics is Skynet, right? Like, there's nobody that we've all seen the pictures of the dogs walking around. Like, we know this is coming. We've had Terminator. We've had, so we understand Skynet for at least 30 years. We understand the Matrix. Like, we have so many. We've been advised like how bad this. Oh, you can go back to Quantum Leap, right? We know how bad this is going to be, and we're still like gung ho about it. Woohoo, let's go do this. Give me 5 qubits and we're good. It's like, I just want a hoverboard. Can we just go back to hoverboards? That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
We are getting a DeLorean.
Yes,
that's true.
There is a DeLorean coming out. Yeah. Oh, one thing I'm going to throw into here, the one thing I'd love to see is Johnny 5 be real.
Oh, I would love that.
Lord. Steve Gutenberg shows up, they're hanging out in Central Park or something like that. That would make my day as far as technology goes. But look, okay, we've got this range of 25 years that we're looking at, and there's a lot of uncertainty around it. This is not something that we need to start thinking about, at least small businesses need to start thinking about today as a threat, but it's something interesting to talk about because it really talks about, it goes into what's around the corner for us. And, earlier today, I think I asked Mike, I said, think about what you were doing in 25 years ago, 1997. I was sitting.
I can't disclose.
So did anybody hear him say 25 years ago and then equate that to 1997 before he said it? Because I sure as hell didn't.
Wait, what?
He says 25 years ago. I'm thinking like 1980s.
Right. Right.
I would think 25 years ago, I'm sitting in a pizzeria at lunch, on my lunch break in high school, watching Real Big Fish videos play as I'm having pizza. There's no cell phone. There's no Twitter. There's none of this stuff that's around. It was high tech? The Street Fighter arcade machine by the front door. I mean, that was like, cutting edge, amazing technology. I mean, you got to have a fast processor to get like a 16-hit combo. Am I right, guys? It's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Jumping onto Netscape Navigator.
Yeah, everyone had AOL floppy disks all over their house, right? We used to get them in the mail all the time. And that was technology then. Look where we are 25 years from now. We've got all this equipment that we're using. We're talking over live streaming. We've got cell phones, you name it, it's around. Our cars are about as powerful as our cell phones when it comes to processing information these days. Everything's all over the place. So where are we going to be in the next 25 years? That's what I think makes this so appealing to me. And a lot of it's going to kind of come down to really interesting things around medical applications and understanding sciences better. I mean, there are so many things that we didn't understand about our own bodies 5 years ago that we understand now. There was a paper that I had read recently, maybe in the past 6 months, that scientists have discovered there's a totally different muscle group in the chin that had not been discovered until maybe a couple of years ago. So the idea of what we discover on a daily basis now with what we have is amazing. So to think of what we could discover in the future with quantum computing powering what we're doing is exciting. But we haven't really talked about the real threat that we wanted to go into today. I think we've been having a little too much fun with this topic. Right now, all the transactions that we make online are hopefully all the transactions. I can't say all, that's not accurate. Are secure. You go onto Amazon, you go and you buy the, I don't know, a new mop, a car tire, or something like that, whatever. I don't think I'd buy either one of those at Amazon. I don't know what's going on today. But, and we a couple of weeks ago, we talked about what HTTPS is and how it helps protect data in transit. And that is fantastic. It helps deal with mitigating things like man-in-the-middle attacks. Mm-hmm. Data can't always be read. In fact, hold on, I think I still have an overlay from that. So up top, if we look at the eavesdropping, passive attack, that's a middleman. They're getting information in between you and whatever server it is that you're communicating with. Well, it's encrypted, can't really do anything with it. But I tell you what, data storage is incredibly cheap. And there's no reason a bad actor isn't going to go and just begin hoarding all of this encrypted data, because a day will arrive when that encryption means absolutely nothing. Now, is something going to happen if a random person knows your credit card that had expired, 20 years ago? Not so much. But what if, what's the right word here? Nation states?
Nation state. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
If nation states are collecting data that's going all over the internet right now and hoarding that information until it can be unlocked, tell you, Q-Day could end up in a whole lot of airing of dirty laundry. And that's a bit scary. That's the kind of thing that can lead to major conflict. I know that all of us here do everything we can to be able to talk about services and technology and everything that we do, and do so in a way that doesn't include fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But it's here. Like there's no pushing it. It's all of the information that was once encrypted will no longer be. And when someone starts reading it, what's going to happen? That's a very concerning thought. The good thing is that there's always someone looking out for things like this. NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, I can never get it right, is currently working on a number of different encryption algorithms that they believe can withstand the work that quantum computers can do to break them. And, that's not something that's going to happen in the next few weeks or months. We're looking at about 5 to 10 years for something like that to be adopted in a widespread manner. Doesn't mean they won't have flaws, doesn't mean they're going to work perfectly. But the fact is that we are looking at improving methods of computing on traditional platforms and using traditional computing technology to help prevent this from happening. And wow, I feel like go ahead, please.
I was going to say, can I throw out an acronym? We're techs.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's called PQM, or post-quantum cryptography. No, that was wrong. PQC. There we go.
You had me confused. I was like, okay, cool.
Where's the M?
I just explained that.
And so that's what they're working to do. It's kind of like building the anti-malware or the cryptography of what the other one will do once we get past that Shor algorithm.
Coming soon, zone alarm, quantum firewalls. Ugh, scary. Is zone alarm still around? It was fantastic back in the day.
I don't know.
I bet
Good
it
question.
still is. There's always something. I mean, when McAfee lasted this long, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's a good.
So yeah,
to go back to your point though, that's exactly what the whole PRISM surveillance thing was, right? It's just collecting all of the data with an understanding that it can't be decrypted today, but at some point it will be. And resources. I mean, maybe now is the wrong time to say resources are cheap because Taco Bell, chicken wings, the prices went up because of chip shortage, but at the same time, because so much more can be done with the same resources, nation state actors or even private organizations understand, just keep throwing more computing at it.
Right.
So it gets to that point where, quantum computing, we're going to get enough qubits, or, as soon as we understand qubits, it'll be like z-bits or whatever, just to throw us off our toes. But, it'll be enough where they can start unlocking stuff. And I wonder, I'm worried about what the ramifications of that are going to be.
It's the new arms race
box. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a concerning thought, and it's a kind of thought that's at a scope much larger than we normally concentrate here on the stream.
Yeah.
So it feels a little awkward to go into. It almost feels a little ancient aliensy to me. And I usually reserve that for Friday evening, so I could yell at the TV then, not now. But it is concerning. There are measures being taken by organizations to help prevent what could be some really nasty fallout from Q-Day. And I think that, Megan, can you take it home for us? Throw some sprinkle of positivity on this, please.
I'm happy to do this because I think this is who I try to be in many situations in my life. Otherwise, you can't really get through the day. So yeah, let's do a positive quantum spin on everything we talked about.
Which direction does that spin in? Does it matter? Does it spin the opposite direction in Australia?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes. Just so you know. So yeah, what we talked about today is a little harrowing. It's a little scary. The major concern with Q-Day is the near effortless ability to break traditional encryption mechanisms, as we said. But just to remind everyone, that is only one aspect of quantum computing. The sheer computing power behind quantum computing opens us to many opportunities, not just within technology, but we can discover solutions to existing challenges and the exploration of new ways to push our technology and ourselves forward into the future. So, and we talked about it a little bit, and Matt, you already said it, and Mike, you as well, but quantum cryptography, not cryptology, cryptography, has a lot of promising upsides designed to protect us. And quantum key distribution leverages a quantum channel for the encryption and the decryption of data. So if you didn't see the episode from 2 weeks ago on HTTPS, check it out because it'll help make sense of what I'm saying now. But the approach using a quantum channel makes the man-in-the-middle attacks that we talked about in that episode physically impossible, which is a reassuring thing. That's a positive.
You're gonna put a little asterisk next to that because you never know what's gonna happen in the future.
Right. Like, and
impossible
as
at
we
that
discussed,
time.
We can't really.
There you go.
But if eavesdropping takes place, the quantum state will have changed by the time it's received by the truly intended recipient. and it can be considered invalid. So that's, yeah, there are ways to interpret this stuff that could feel a little more secure and a little more protective. And, you know, quantum computing does stand to solve a lot of today's challenges. But like most forms of technology, we're going to have to balance the good and the bad. I think that's what we've been doing the last 25 years, especially just with how many leaps we've made in technology. We are, you know, every day there's an article on my social media, whatever, all these great strides forwards that we've made that have led to more connectivity and greater possibility have also, it's been a lot of great power comes great responsibility, right? Let's wield our technological power.
Was that's from Spider-Man, right?
No, I made that up.
Oh, okay.
Original thought.
It honestly felt like an amazing segue to next week.
Do we start calling you Uncle Megan now? Is that
Uncle Meg to make it sound
Uncle Meg?
Aunt Meg.
It's like it's like a crossover between Ben and May. That'll be the next show.
The two things. One, that was excellent, and it was a perfect segue into what I want to say next. But also, let's just on the positives for 1 second. Think about a lot of what goes on in just science these days, and what can be greatly accelerated through the computational power that's to be gained. Sequencing of the human genome, prototyping of things like prosthetic limbs in much quicker time. I'm sure there are benefits to probably financial reporting in store. You name it. If there's something that we do now that takes a certain amount of time, it's going to take less time, hopefully, in the future, and give us many more answers. And honestly, a much more vivid understanding of our own existence in a way. Not to get too kind of like existential on it, but there's a lot to be learned. You know, there was a time when the Earth was flat. There was a time when we were at the center of the universe. There was a time when Coke existed. So things change over time.
I mean, I live in Florida, so a lot of the things you're still saying still apply right now. but no, like, you know, when you're talking about taking this to a positive level, that science was my first go-to, right? I immediately went and checked real quick, like DNA sequencing takes on average 5 to 7 days, and they came up with a new process that'll take 5 hours. You know, to be able to do that in seconds, you know what I mean? To be able to sit there and identify illnesses before a child is conceived, and come up with solution, come up with probability of solutions, and you know that, and that
simulations of therapies, and there's just so much.
Yes, and that's the thing, right? Like when we're talking about, we're saying quantum computing, that Q-day between 5 and 35 years. I'm a little saddened that medicine, and I know we're trying to be positive, but like, you don't see medicine say that. Medicine never says, okay, well, we're going to solve lupus in the next 5 years, right? Like but I believe these technologies will get us there. And I would love to see, similar excitedness.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's an organization whose name I can't think of right now that has a commercial that states that the first person to survive Alzheimer's is already alive. And I think that those are beautifully idealistic statements that I hope do come true. And I do agree with you, Ray. I think that quantum computing is going to be what unlocks the information that we truly need to be able to bring benefits to people's lives in ways that were just simply not possible before.
And think about this. Once we trash the Earth with quantum computing, we can geoengineer a new planet.
Yeah, there we go. When we start terraforming Mars or something. Yeah.
Terraforming.
We're going to apply a planetary level imaging system over to Mars, and just boom, we'll be there in like 2 seconds. It's no big deal.
Musk will be happy.
There you go.
So
I don't trust that.
Before we end, I just have to say that, Megan, you made the Spider-Man quote, and that was perfect.
I think I felt so over my head. I was like, I'll just bigger.
It would have led into next week perfectly, because next week we're going to talk about what happens when
a radioactive spider
bites like a Cray supercomputer or similar, and we're going to talk about supercomputing. And there was a lot of strange ideas that came from that this morning, but I promise you it's going to be a history of supercomputing, what supercomputing is, what it means to us today, what it's going to be maybe 25 years in the future when there's different types of systems that are going to be more competitive with it? And why is it something that's been a part of our lexicon for as long as I can remember, but I've never actually seen one in person?
Sure. Yeah.
And that'll be a very interesting thing to go through. And then the following week, we're going to jump back a little bit into collaboration, get into some more practical application of things. So that's fantastic. I'm excited. I want to thank you guys. Mike, thank you so much for waking up early on the West Coast and
always
getting the company polo on. And Ray, East Coast, but he's still down south. So I'm sure it's a time difference somehow, some way. Flat Earth deal.
It's a quantum time
There's
difference.
a history difference. That's for sure.
So thank you.
And next week for the supercomputing episode, are you going to do it from the Grand Canyon? I mean, that seems.
Oh,
you know, it's in the budget.
Look, I was going to say, is there a possibility that we could kind of do some kind of collaborative effort to broadcast from the Grand Canyon where you just send Simon for us?
Oh, MMN will absolutely back you up on that. Yeah, Simon, you're going.
And put him in a white suit.
Yeah.
No. He's going to have to dress up like the old guy from Jurassic Park.
And we'll put him on a donkey and just have him go down the.
Everyone, thank you so much, guys. It was great to have you here. Continue to be friends. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thanks for the opportunity.
George will be back with us next week when we cover supercomputing, and then we're going to get ourselves back into a little bit more collaboration-related content. And until next week, have a great one. I hope everyone has a day that is filled with good things and much more certainty than where is it? This. So with that, if there's anything you guys want to say before we call it a day,
no.
Anybody? Anything?
No.
Here's
to
Qubit.
Really fun.
Here's to the first game of Qbert on a qubit powered machine. Have a good one.
Oh, that's a good
multiple Qberts.